Hello, everyone. Dr. Julie here. So, this is a bit of an impromptu live, but I had to comment. So, I stopped for a cup of coffee this afternoon, and as I was waiting, I heard a woman talking to someone at her table. And she was talking about how she doesn't eat any meat and no dairy. And she was not saying this because of an ethical reason or because of some sort of spiritual decision. She was saying because when she had gone through her post cardiac care, so obviously she'd had some sort of cardiac event. When she went through her post cardiac care, the emphasis was made on doing, in essence, eliminating all the cholesterol from her diet and focusing on no meat and no dairy. And she even said, I'll eat eggs, but only the egg whites, not the egg yolks. And as usual, now, mind you, I don't try to eavesdrop, but people talk really loud. So as I'm listening to this conversation and she's saying to him, well, do you know how plaque develops in your arteries and that it's the cholesterol and it sticks there? And then that's why you get plaquing. And then that's going to set you up for a heart attack, for a stroke. And I just thought, we need better information. Women are so dramatically at risk for heart disease, and yet it goes unnoticed because A, the symptoms aren't the same, but B, because in all honesty, the cardiac care that's out there is poor, if at best, because it's relying on information that just doesn't hold up. This woman, of course, mentioned that she is also, of course, on a statin. So let's cover statins first. Cholesterol is not the problem. Cholesterol is an antioxidant in your body, and cholesterol is used to make hormones. And so if your cholesterol is rising and it's rising to some dangerous level, and a note on levels is that, levels when I was in med school, a good cholesterol was 220. And now a good cholesterol is below, I think, like 180. Doctors are really happy to see it around 150. Well, extremely low cholesterol actually sets you up for a host of common conditions, namely depression, even suicidal depression, and it seems to raise the risk of memory-related issues later in life. And it's no wonder that we're seeing a huge proliferation in memory issues in our aging population that have been given the dogma to eliminate cholesterol since about the 1980s. That's when it became really prevalent. So hence, the numbers on these cholesterol values keep dropping, and that's somewhat being encouraged by the large volume of prescribing of these statin drugs, which are lowering the cholesterol of a vast portion of the population and then skewing the numbers in that we're establishing new levels of normal that are not based off of anything but, the sort of mean data. However, when we see cholesterol go up in a person, we can know a few things, and they should be further investigated, but they're not. So when cholesterol goes up, it is always an indication that your need for antioxidants has gone up, which means that you likely have recently either been going through a very stressful time in your life, or you're being very metabolically stressed, which means maybe you're not sleeping, you were exposed to toxicity, you've been sick recently, your diet has changed because maybe you were traveling or something has changed in your life. So those are things that can affect it. Now, secondarily, cholesterol goes up when your thyroid is reduced. So in the winter, especially, the stress of the cold and the dark will automatically make your thyroid function lower, and likelihood is cholesterol will go up. Now, cholesterol will also go up if liver conjugation is poor. So congestion in the liver can come from a number of things, but it goes back to a lot of these same causes: high levels of stress, not sleeping enough, not eating the right foods, not getting enough nutrients. But also the compounding effects of stress are that estrogen levels go up. And in that situation, the liver becomes extremely congested. As estrogen raises, liver gets stressed even more. So we can see a lot of factors, none of which get investigated. When women go to a doctor and get told that they have high cholesterol, they're often just given a statin. Now, the truth is that the statins are lowering that number, but they're not lowering your risk. And even their own data supports this, that a large number of cardiac events are occurring in people with extremely low cholesterol because of our profuse prescription of statins. And so therefore, it's not changing our outcomes. And it is impacting a major system in our body, which is the regulation of hormonal systems related to cholesterol and having enough cholesterol available to do synthesis. But also, if cholesterol raises in response to stress, then it is a body mechanism for protecting our cells against the ravages of stress. And the fact is that stress is the primary mitigating factor in all of our modern day illnesses, and cardiac conditions are no exclusion to that rule. Now, as this woman was talking about, do you know how plaquing forms? And she gave what sadly is the commonly accepted theme, but it's very, very inaccurate. So plaquing forms when we have chronic inflammation in the body, which is why it is more accurate if you wanted to run a blood test to run an HSCRP than it is to run a cholesterol test to see how much inflammation is in someone's body. Now, that's still not going to be necessarily completely specific to the arteries, but it is a good start if you want to run a blood test, although I will say that I don't know that I'm not going to stake someone's health future on their HSCRP levels, but it is a test that most doctors have the ability to run. So if they run an HSCRP and your levels are high, it is a good indication, at least, that you are dealing with levels of chronic inflammation. There are cases where the HSCRP won't rise, and that is when people enter a severe hypometabolic state, they're actually no longer responding, so you're not going to find the elevation in the HSCRP. So I'm just going to give that as a caveat. If you are someone who is very concerned about your health, but your HSCRP is low, it may not rise. Regardless, the inflammation develops, and the inflammation in essence contributes to quote-unquote wounds in the walls of the arteries, if we're just talking about plaquing. And then your body puts cholesterol there as a service. So it puts cholesterol there to patch the wound, much the way that we build scabs, externally on our skin. The idea then would be that the body then can move into repair mode, repairs it, the cholesterol dissolves, and it moves on. However, we're not doing anything to deal with people's inflammation, so the inflammation propagates and the wound persists and even grows, and more cholesterol is attracted there because it is sticky and the body's calling out for more restoration, and then you get an actual plaquing, and then you get obstruction, and then you get a cardiac event. So the problem wasn't ever cholesterol. The problem was inflammation. And women, I think, are being vastly overlooked in all areas of medicine, but I think cardiac care is one of those areas because we are not addressing the impact of all the complexity of our hormonal systems as it relates to our bodies. Now, this woman was saying, so I don't eat all these foods, but I will eat, these were her words, I will eat vegan cheese. Vegan cheese is just fat and coloring agents and flavoring agents to make you feel like you're eating cheese. But it's not a good substitute for real food. So, ladies, if you're worried about cardiac disease, then one of the first things you can do for yourself, even if you did nothing else, is to make a commitment to just eat real food. Please just eat food in its natural state. Please just eat food, that you can identify the origin and source. Don't eat substitute foods. The other thing is eat cholesterol. So pre-1920, in US history, I've told this story before, but the makers of the EKG came here wanting to help, identify possible cases of cardiac disease, only to discover that people said, oh, we don't need that. We don't have heart disease. At that time, the per capita butter consumption was 18 pounds per year. We didn't even consume vegetable oils. And now our diet is mostly based off of vegetable oils. We consumed massive amounts of cholesterol, and we didn't have heart disease. We also ate food in its natural form. And yet at that time, people also ate sugar, and they ate, grain, and they ate pie, and they ate cake. Now, I'm not telling you to go eat pie and cake, but I am saying that if we look historically, those rates of disease, these chronic diseases, were not the problem that they are now. And yet all the dietary advice that we're following now is based off of, what the sort of modern quote unquote experts have said. And so there's something to be said for looking historically at that past picture. And so that's something you can do. Eat food that you can recognize, eat food that all the aspects and origins. Eat food that comes, grown the way it's supposed to. So pasture-raised milk, pasture-raised meat, wild-caught fish. Make it so that you can be sure of the path from, plate to from where it originated to your plate. And the other thing is this: the origin of all illness is inflammation. And inflammation rises from a number of things. So one of them is diet, one of them. But another one is actually where we're living from every day. There's always this sense in people as I listen to them talk about their health conditions, like futility. And that was one of the things I noticed in this conversation about that I overheard today, is that there was a sense of futility and finality to it. You know, like, I'm a person with a heart condition. I have to eat this way. It was an identity assumption. And I really want to caution all of you about assuming the identity of anything other than your most vibrant, vital self. Even if that's not where you're living, I will tell you that what you feed your cells is what you live. So it's true for food, and it's also true for your mindset and your mental space and your emotions. And if you're feeding yourself, I am a sick person, then you're going to experience a life of sickness. If you're feeding yourself, I am a person stuck in fear, then the odds are you're going to experience a lot more representations of that's what's true. So I want to encourage you to even just sit down at some point in your life, today, tomorrow, and I want you to think about what you really want to be experiencing in your health, maybe as it relates to a particular condition, maybe just in general. And I want you to draw a picture of what that vibrant, vital, wild, amazing woman looks like. And then I want you to sit there and feel what it feels like to be her, because that's what your goal is. Right? You don't want halfway. You don't want to just avoid another event. You want to be full on, out loud, bright, shiny, all in color living. Or at least that's what I assume you want, because that's what I would want for you. And then I want you to every day ask yourself simple questions. Does this action line up with that vibrant, vital woman? Or am I choosing to a default of I just don't want to be sick, or I just don't want this? Choose according to that vitality. Choose according to that dream. Choose according to what it feels like to be fully alive. That's another great way to avoid heart disease. Think about what the heart is, you guys. Your heart is your center. It is, in Chinese medicine, is the seat of the emperor. And the emperor is supposed to be the clear guidance for what happens in our life, like where we put our focus. And if we're having heart disease, the odds are we've disconnected from that clear guidance. You know, we've allowed ourselves to get caught up in aspects of life. And there's enough versions of that right now. The world is filled with reasons to be afraid and angry and, you know, find reference points for why nothing is working. Or we can find reference points for why it is working and why I'm going to be courageous and why I can be strong and why beautiful things can happen. We have a choice. So when it comes to women and heart disease, please lovingly take care of yourself. Please don't give in to this mantra of chemicalized food as the only way to prevent heart disease, because it is the furthest thing from that. You know, eat from your origins, celebrate your life, capture your wild woman essence, play at it, you guys, because we only get one chance, and my God, it's too beautiful to waste. And if you're worried about heart disease and you want to know how to, you know, remediate your risk, you want to know how to get your cells to a thriving place, get rid of that inflammation, I can help you do that. But most of all, I just want you to really capture everything that you deserve. And you all deserve unbelievable amounts of joy, love, compassion, creativity, vitality, play, just all of it. You deserve all of it. All right? Blessings, guys. Have a beautiful day.